Hey everyone, guess who's back? It's Kamish back here with another Tier 2 draft preview, and this time we have our second team in Canadian Division 2 featured, and it's Jonathan and Tier 2 veteran Jordan McLovin, a team that's been able to at least stay in Tier 2, but really hasn't made a lot of progress into advancing to Tier 1. And I know there's been some division moves for Jordan McLovin it over history. And I think the Canadian Division Two isn't that comfortable either to try to get some wins in. Josh and Justin are great owners, and I think they're going to be tough to beat in that division. The other option would be CDN Division One, where you have myself, Purple Unis, and Sandmen that are really good teams too. So it doesn't get any easier. The Canadians are here to win, and obviously with 11 Canadians in Tier One, that proves that. Let me just get into your preview. I do appreciate having you in the league, Jonathan. You're definitely an active owner, good enough to be in this format, and I would love to see you succeed. It's been a long time, and yeah, it'd be great to see you get up to Tier 1, but you got to do all the right things in Tier 2 to get there. So here we go, Jordan McLovin it. Current keepers, well, I think you've done the right thing there at quarterback. Josh Allen, let's face it, it's probably going to be top three every year in quarterback fantasy scores, or at least top five. So, when you can have the most important position covered and you have a top three or top five in there, that's usually a big win, right? And I think Josh Allen will continue in that regard for Buffalo. Where things get a little bit dicey for you, running back Marshawn Lloyd for Green Bay. Not really liking that one. I mean, I think, well, again, I guess, here's a guy entering year two. But Josh Jacobs is still there. So, and I think Josh Jacobs is more of the bell cow type. And until that changes, I just don't see much fantasy relevance for Marshawn Lloyd. Of course, you might be just trying to keep a running back, which, does make sense at time. And then when I look at your wide receivers, you have two, I think, good wide receivers. The problem is the teams they're on, right? So if you think about it, Garrett Wilson, Justin Fields is throwing the ball. A little bit concerned about that one. I think Fields, he's a guy that once in a while will throw a pass that looks magical, and then like usually half the time he's throwing a pass that's nowhere to be seen. So I'm a bit concerned there. And then Michael Pittman, same thing. I think he's going to face additional pressure from Adonai Mitchell in the WR1 hole. And Anthony Richardson's already hurt, so likely I think the starting quarterback in Indianapolis is going to be career bust Daniel Jones, which will probably help Michael Pittman as opposed to Anthony Richardson, to be honest. But I just don't like the prospects there. And then at tight end, you got Mark Andrews. Well, we all remember the infamous drop, right? Ouch. And I think that really kind of, in my opinion, kind of spelled the end of his career, or really the turning point where he's going to go on a downward trend. I'm looking at the rest of your team of who you could potentially keep, and there's no one else. That's the thing. Your lineup is why you finished 3-11 last year, right? And 15th, second to last. You would be in tier three if we didn't have all the player movement last year. So you need to find a way to improve. Of course, I like Myles Garrett. He signed a big contract though, which scares me. Reports are Myles Garrett's never been a good leader in the room, and I just feel now that he's got his money, I don't know if he's going to be a motivating leader. I just don't see it, but who knows? Maybe he will, and I hope he is because obviously, like the Browns, here's where things might work out for you, and I think this is what you really truly need to focus on, and that's the draft. You didn't make any trades last year, which whatever, it doesn't matter. But if you're gonna make a run at tier one, I can tell you right now, you got to do what Josh did in tier three last year and sell your 5 and 10 if it makes sense to try to move up, but only if you think your team has a chance. If your team doesn't have a chance, you probably don't want to take that risk. But at third pick, I mean, let's face it, you're going to get a baller there, and that baller could very well be Travis Hunter or Marion Hampton or Travion Henderson or others, depending on who you like. But I think the pick has to be likely a rookie here. I do think Nico Collins and Jane Daniels will be eventually kept by Orion and Van Isle. If he doesn't, he's an idiot. Um, I think the first pick for you needs to be a running back, right? I just don't have much faith in Marshawn Lloyd being the guy that's going to carry you to victory. I think you need to obviously upgrade that running back room, and I'm pretty sure you would likely agree with me there. Potential storylines for you, Jonathan. I think if things go well, you'll make the playoffs, right? I just, right now, where I see your team, I just don't see you being a champion. But you could prove me wrong, right? You might nail the third pick and it might be a game changer. I think if things go bad, well, much like No Hawk 2, the CDN Division 2 got loaded with the two worst teams, which opens up the door for Justin and Josh as division champ, or you prove us wrong. But I think if things go bad, you're going down to tier three, just like you would have this past year. And the commentary for you is you really just need to focus on the draft and you need to make sure you nail that third pick. And it's going to be tough because, when you get to second, third, fourth pick, those are always the picks that are the hardest. I think everybody knows likely Janty's number one. So then where do you go from there, right? So, and that's going to be up to you to nailing the right pick. If you don't, yeah, probably things will go bad for you. If you do, well, maybe things do go well. So, I am hoping things go well for you. You've been in the league a long time, obviously, and you've put in your dues. But you might have to take some risk to just get up to that next tier, and you just got to find a way to improve. Maybe part of it is, focusing better on DLs. I'm looking at your DLs from last year. They were okay, but not great. So, I don't know. It's just one of those things that maybe you've had a string of bad luck. But I do think you're capable of getting up to tier one. You just got to find that way. Good luck, Jonathan.